Ethan had always loved the stars. He loved how vast they were, how silent they seemed from his ship's window, and how full of possibilities they were. But nothing had prepared him for the planet that stretched before him now. Its surface shimmered in colors that seemed impossible, greens that glowed faintly and blues that pulsed like soft lights. The air smelled sweet and heavy, like a mixture of flowers and rain. He stepped cautiously onto the soft, spongy ground, feeling the strange texture beneath his boots. The mission was simple: explore, gather samples, and report back to the research station orbiting the planet. But as soon as Ethan ventured a little deeper into the forest, he heard it, a soft, almost imperceptible sound. At first he thought it was the wind rustling the strange, luminous leaves, but then he heard it again, a tiny, pitiful cry. Curious and concerned, Ethan followed the sound, moving carefully among the glowing trees. He kept one hand on his scanner, the other holding his small field pack. The cries grew louder, more desperate, and then through a tangle of glowing vines he saw her. She was small, no taller than a human child, with translucent skin that shimmered like liquid silver in the faint light. Her eyes were enormous, round, and glowing softly. She looked fragile, as if a gust of wind could break her, and she was alone. Ethan knelt slowly, keeping his movements gentle. "Hey," he said softly. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The child froze, staring at him with wide eyes. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Ethan could see the faint rise and fall of her chest, her small hands trembling. He rummaged in his pack and pulled out a small container of warm soup he had prepared earlier for the trip. "Do you want some?" he asked, holding it out carefully. The child's eyes flickered with curiosity and something like hope. She stepped closer cautiously and took the container with both hands. She sniffed it, then sipped, her eyes closing briefly as the warmth reached her. Ethan smiled. "You're hungry," he said gently. "I can help with that." For the next hour, Ethan stayed with her, feeding her slowly, talking softly, and learning small things through gestures. He learned that her name was Lyra, though he wasn't sure he had pronounced it correctly. She seemed to understand him, laughing at his awkward gestures and even trying to mimic some of them. There was a spark of intelligence in her, surprising for someone so small and weak. Eventually, Lyra led him deeper into the forest. She didn't speak in words he could understand, but her gestures were clear. She wanted him to follow. The forest became denser, the glowing plants casting strange patterns on the ground. Ethan noticed he was not alone. Tiny eyes peered from the shadows and faint shapes moved among the trees, but none approached. It was as if something or someone was watching them. Lyra finally stopped in a small clearing. In the center was a simple dwelling, built from materials that seemed alive. Vines twisted into walls, glowing softly, and the roof pulsed with faint light. Ethan took a careful step forward. Then he saw her, the mother. She was taller than he expected, her form sleek and graceful, moving with a fluidity that made Ethan catch his breath. Her skin shimmered like Lyra's, but in darker shades, giving her an almost ghostly presence. Her eyes were sharp and calculating, studying him with a quiet intensity that made him feel exposed. Ethan raised his hand slightly, showing he meant no harm. "I'm Ethan," he said. "I just want to help." The mother didn't speak. She only tilted her head, her eyes following his every move. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. There was power in her silence, an aura that demanded respect without a single word. He realized that she could probably destroy him without effort, but she didn't. She simply watched. Lyra ran to her mother, chattering in soft, musical sounds. The mother's eyes softened briefly as she looked at her child, and then she returned her gaze to Ethan. It was a silent test. Ethan understood that he had to earn her trust. Over the next few hours, he sat with them, feeding Lyra, observing the mother from a distance. He tried small gestures, placing his hand on his chest to show sincerity, offering small gifts from his pack, and avoiding sudden movements. Slowly, he felt the tension ease. The mother allowed Lyra to approach him, even to climb onto his lap briefly. Ethan realized that there was a rhythm to the mother's movements, a careful watchfulness that never wavered. She protected Lyra without needing to act aggressively. Every subtle glance or shift in position kept them safe from unseen dangers. He marveled at her skill. It was clear that she had survived in this forest not through violence, but through awareness, intelligence, and a kind of silent authority. As night fell, the forest glowed even brighter. Ethan had never seen anything like it. Bioluminescent plants cast a soft ambient light, and the air shimmered with tiny floating spores that glimmered like stars. He sat beside the mother and child, feeling an unexpected peace. The mother didn't move close, but she didn't move away either. It was as if she was saying without words that she was watching, but she trusted him enough to let him stay. Lyra curled up beside him, her small body warm against his arm. Ethan felt a strange mix of awe and responsibility. He was a human, far from home, and yet here he was, entrusted with the safety of this small alien family. The thought both excited and terrified him. As he drifted to sleep, he noticed the faint glow of the mother's eyes, still watching, still silent. He realized that she was more than just protective. She was powerful, smart, and patient. Her kind of strength was different from what humans usually thought of. She didn't need to shout or fight. She moved silently, observed keenly, and acted only when necessary. Ethan understood then that this was a lesson in humility. In a universe so vast and full of unknowns, kindness alone was not enough. One needed courage, intelligence, and respect for the lives around them. And humans, he thought with a quiet pride, could offer something unique: empathy. Morning came slowly, the glow of the forest changing from deep blues to soft purples and pinks. Ethan awoke to find Lyra awake and chattering happily. The mother was nearby, her posture relaxed but still watchful. Ethan smiled. He had survived the night, not because of weapons or technology, but because of understanding, patience, and compassion. He packed some supplies and followed Lyra as she led him deeper into the forest. The mother followed silently, her presence a constant reminder of the power and grace that could not be measured in human terms. Ethan felt a thrill of discovery. He was learning not just about this alien species, but about a new way of seeing the universe. By midday, they reached a hidden waterfall, its waters shimmering with strange colors. Lyra laughed, splashing in the water, and the mother watched, serene yet alert. Ethan knelt and let the water run over his hands, feeling the energy of the place. He realized that this world was alive in ways humans often overlooked. Every creature, every plant, every movement had meaning. Suddenly, Lyra turned and pointed to the edge of the forest. Ethan followed her gaze and saw movement, a shadow slipping among the trees. His heart quickened, but the mother moved first. She was gone in an instant, her speed and grace making it seem as if she had vanished. Moments later, the shadow retreated and all was quiet again. Ethan's respect for her deepened. He realized that this was not just a mother protecting her child. She was a guardian of this world, moving in ways humans could barely comprehend, and yet she had accepted him. That acceptance was precious, fragile, and earned. As the day ended, Ethan sat with the mother and child once more. Lyra curled up beside him, and the mother remained close, her eyes never leaving him. He understood something fundamental. Kindness could open doors, but trust was built slowly, and respect was the key to survival in a universe full of wonders and dangers. And in that moment, under the glow of the alien forest, Ethan knew he had found something extraordinary. A bond had formed, fragile yet unbreakable, between human and alien. A bond built not on fear, not on force, but on the simple power of compassion and understanding. The night stretched on, filled with the soft sounds of the forest. Ethan lay on the ground, Lyra asleep beside him and the mother watching over them both. For the first time on this distant planet, he felt at home. He felt human, but also part of something greater, something that spanned species, planets, and stars. And as he drifted to sleep, he knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and perhaps a deeper understanding of the silent strength that had chosen to trust him. Morning came slowly, bathing the forest in a soft, warm glow. Ethan awoke to the sound of Lyra's laughter as she ran across the clearing, her small feet barely making a sound on the soft ground. The mother, Mara, stood nearby, her posture calm but alert, observing every movement in the forest around them. Ethan felt a mix of awe and caution. Mara was unlike any creature he had ever encountered, silent, strong, and careful, yet somehow she had allowed him into their lives. Ethan stretched and stood, brushing off the dew from his clothes. He noticed how the forest seemed to pulse with life, the glowing plants casting shadows that moved like living patterns. He had already learned that patience was essential here, that sudden actions could startle the delicate balance of this world. He greeted Mara with a slight bow, a gesture he had begun to use in place of words. She acknowledged it with a subtle nod, her glowing eyes never leaving him. Lyra scampered toward a stream, laughing as she dipped her hands into the shimmering water. Ethan followed her, kneeling by the edge to refill his water supply and to observe the strange aquatic creatures that darted beneath the surface. They were small, translucent, and fast, almost like the fish had learned to move with the rhythm of the glowing currents. Ethan marveled at their beauty, realizing that the forest held secrets he had never imagined. Suddenly, Mara stiffened. Ethan froze, noticing the subtle shift in her posture. Her head tilted slightly and her eyes narrowed. He followed her gaze to a line of shadows slipping among the distant trees. They were subtle, almost invisible, but Mara saw them instantly. He could feel her silent warning. There was danger, but she would handle it without alarming them. Ethan watched, holding his breath as Mara moved. She disappeared into the forest like a wisp of smoke, her movements so fluid that he barely saw them. Moments later, the shadows retreated as if their presence had been noticed and decided against. Mara returned, her expression unreadable. Ethan's respect for her deepened. Her power was not loud or violent. It was controlled, precise, and protective. Over the next few days, Ethan learned more about Mara and Lyra's world. He helped repair their small dwelling, using simple tools and techniques, and found ways to make it stronger against the frequent storms that swept through the forest. Mara observed him closely, occasionally guiding his hands with a gentle touch, but she never spoke. Communication was not necessary. They understood each other through gestures, glances, and shared actions. One evening, Ethan sat by the fire he had built near the dwelling, watching Lyra play with small, glowing stones. Mara stood behind him, her eyes scanning the forest. He realized that her silence was a skill, a way to understand the world without disturbing it. Every movement, every shift in light, every sound was a signal to her. He admired the intelligence and awareness that had kept her and her child alive in a world full of unknown dangers. Ethan decided to test his own abilities. He wanted to contribute more, to show that humans were capable of more than just curiosity and kindness. He began observing the forest, noting patterns of the glowing plants, the paths of small animals, and the movements of the water currents. Slowly, he learned to anticipate changes in the environment, to predict small hazards, and to offer solutions that Mara could not have seen immediately. She watched him with quiet interest, approving his efforts in subtle ways. A nod, a shift in posture, or a soft glance at Lyra. One morning, while gathering samples near a waterfall, Ethan noticed movement along the cliff edge. He froze, sensing a small group of predators approaching. Mara's presence was immediate and silent. She moved like liquid, intercepting the threat before it could reach them. Ethan watched in awe as she neutralized the danger without a sound, guiding the predators away with careful precision rather than force. He realized then that Mara's strength was not in attack but in prevention, control, and the ability to act without unnecessary confrontation. After the threat passed, Mara returned to Lyra and Ethan, her posture relaxed but her eyes still glowing faintly. Ethan felt a surge of gratitude and understanding. Mara had shown him something important. Courage was not about fighting. It was about knowing when and how to act, and compassion was stronger than fear. As the days passed, the bond between Ethan, Mara, and Lyra grew stronger. Lyra became more confident, exploring the forest with Ethan by her side and Mara always nearby. Ethan learned to understand the subtle language of gestures and glances that Mara and Lyra used to communicate. He realized that empathy was a universal language, capable of bridging worlds and species. One afternoon, a sudden storm swept through the forest. Rain fell in heavy sheets and the wind howled through the glowing trees. Ethan scrambled to secure supplies while Mara guided Lyra to the shelter of their dwelling. Ethan marveled at Mara's efficiency. She moved with grace, securing their home and ensuring their safety without a single word. The storm raged for hours, but they remained safe, a small island of calm in a world of chaos. When the storm passed, the forest sparkled with renewed light, droplets of water clinging to every leaf and crystal. Ethan stepped outside, breathing in the fresh air and feeling a deep connection to this alien world. Mara stood nearby, her eyes watching him, and for the first time she allowed a small approving smile. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had earned her trust not through words or force, but through patience, care, and understanding. That evening they sat together near the fire. Lyra rested her head on Ethan's lap, exhausted but happy. Mara watched them both, her eyes soft but vigilant. Ethan realized that this was more than friendship. It was a partnership. Humans could offer qualities that were rare and precious in the universe: empathy, creativity, and courage guided by kindness. Mara had recognized these qualities in him, and through that recognition a bond had been forged. Ethan reflected on the lessons he had learned. The universe was vast, full of wonders and dangers beyond imagination, but humans, with their unique combination of intelligence, emotion, and moral understanding, could navigate these worlds in ways that others could not. By giving Lyra soup, by showing kindness and patience, he had opened the door to a relationship that transcended species and planets. In the following days, Ethan continued to explore the forest with Mara and Lyra. He discovered hidden groves where plants emitted healing light, streams that reflected the stars in ways that seemed magical, and ancient structures that hinted at civilizations long past. Mara taught him to move silently, to observe without disturbing, and to respect every creature and plant. He learned that true strength was quiet, measured, and compassionate. One evening, as they watched the sunset over a crystal lake, Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had come to this planet as an explorer, seeking knowledge and adventure. But he had found something far more valuable: connection. He had bridged the gap between species, earned the trust of a powerful and silent guardian, and shared a bond with a child who reminded him of the simple power of empathy. Mara approached him slowly, her eyes meeting his. For a moment, the forest seemed to hold its breath. Then she placed her hand lightly on Ethan's shoulder, a gesture of acceptance and recognition. Ethan understood the significance. She had chosen him not just as a friend, but as an ally, someone who could be trusted to protect and respect her family. The days turned into weeks, and Ethan continued to learn from Mara and Lyra. He documented the forest, studied the creatures, and shared knowledge about Earth in return. Lyra grew stronger, her laughter filling the forest, while Mara's guidance kept them safe. Together they explored the boundaries of the forest, discovering hidden wonders and avoiding unseen dangers with a combination of human ingenuity and alien skill. Ethan often reflected on the silent power Mara wielded. She could have been terrifying, a predator in a world of uncertainty, but she chose protection, observation, and careful action instead. He realized that humans could learn from this approach: strength tempered by wisdom, courage guided by compassion. And in turn, humans could teach patience, creativity, and empathy to those who had never encountered such qualities. One night, under a sky filled with unfamiliar constellations, Lyra slept peacefully between them. Mara's eyes glowed faintly as she watched over them, and Ethan felt a profound sense of belonging. He was far from Earth, in a world that was strange and beautiful, yet he was home in a way he had never imagined. He whispered softly to the night, "Thank you," knowing that the bond they shared was more than chance. It was built on trust, courage, and kindness, the best qualities humans could offer. Mara, the silent guardian, had chosen to accept him, and in doing so, she had shown him that humanity could shine even in the farthest corners of the universe. As the forest settled into quiet, Ethan felt a certainty he had never felt before. He had learned that strength did not always roar, that power could be gentle, and that trust, once earned, was the most precious gift of all. Mara, silent and vigilant, had recognized that in him. Lyra, bright and joyful, had taught him the innocence and hope that could bridge worlds. And together, they faced the future, human and alien, guardian and explorer, mother and child, united by understanding, compassion, and the quiet, extraordinary power of empathy. Ethan knew that he had found something rare in the universe, a friendship and bond that transcended species, a family's,